Hello, today we are going to talk about nervous system imbalance, and the word that we're going to use for this is dysautonomia. I don't want you to get hung up on the word so much, but I want you to understand that when the nervous system is not balanced, the body's not going to work correctly. Hey, I'm Dr. Randy Wirtz, pediatric, neurologically focused chiropractor, and we see this condition that it's often overlooked, this dysautonomia, and it's so hard to diagnose because there's a menagerie of a lot of different symptoms that play into a part of this. It's like the symptoms are all over the place. So often it gets diagnosed as a stomach problem or a heart problem or a temperature problem or a balance issue. And what happens is people will go to different doctors for different symptoms or different conditions. So they'll go to the GI doctor, they'll go to the heart doctor, they'll go to the nervous system, our breathing, our respiratory doctor, and they really can't figure out what is going on because we start to see that these are all actually linked. So I'm going to explain this to you so you can understand, because I'm willing to bet that you know somebody with this. They just don't know that this is a problem or what they have. So I want to explain, we're going to back up a little bit and get a little geeky with the science because it started rooting in the science, and it'll help you set the groundwork to understand this as well. Your autonomic nervous system or automatic nervous system is divided up in two parts. Now, the automatic nervous system or autonomic is the things that you do without even noting, like digestion food or your heart beating or even sweating. You know, those are things that happen without you even being aware that it's happening with your body. Your body is on what they call autopilot. Now, there's parts of that nervous system that speed your body up, and there's parts of the nervous system, that part of the nervous system, that slow your body down and rest and digest. Speed your body up is sympathetic, meaning I'm in fight or flight, I need to gear up, I'm ready to run a race. Parasympathetic is I'm eating a meal, I need to go to bed, I need to rest and add mass to my body. Okay, sympathetic is I'm tearing my body down, I'm using my body, I'm like up and going. Parasympathetic is I'm adding to my body. So what are some things that will happen when we have dysautonomia? Well, chances are that skews towards the sympathetic side until it happened so long ago, a year, 2 years, it starts to skew more towards the parasympathetic side where the body becomes exhausted and they just can't even, if I wanted to run, I wouldn't even be able to do it because I'm so drained right now. So just to give you a background on what the science says. Now, how does it show up or how does this contribute? Well, it shows up, or how do you derive dysautonomia or how does this come about is through stress. It comes in physical stress, or chemical stress, or heavy-duty emotional stress. So give me examples of each. Physical stress, birth trauma, big time. Physical stress where they take the baby's head, even turn, pull, use forceps, or even where they lift the baby up by C-section will compromise these nerves. There's a big nerve coming right down here called the vagus nerve that goes to the heart, controls the upper 2/3 of digestion, controls mood, regulation, it calms the body down, and if that's not working, those parts of the body aren't working as well either. Now, the upper neck feeds this part of the brain, the cerebellum. That's the modulator. So my emotions aren't so big and swinging. I'm not crying at something or getting angry all the time. It really calms down the brain and stimulates this part of the brain. So that has an amazing factor with it too. Now, chemical stresses, I've seen people have issues with their upper neck from eating wheat because their body can't handle it as well. Or MSG in the foods. Red dyes in the foods, big no-no. Even toxins in the air like exhaust fumes too can contribute to those problems with the nervous system. Emotional systems, PTSD. In fact, I'm going to share a story about a gentleman who came in with dysautonomia. Body wasn't regulating, nervous system was imbalanced, and he went through a lot of trauma in his past, in the childhood, and even his work was dealing with that now too. And every one of these will accumulate. You can have a physical problem at birth, has some chemical issues during the course of childhood, and then emotional problems as an adult with burnout, and they all start to accumulate with stress. And so let me give you examples. One little guy Levi, 10 years old, comes in, couldn't even stand up in my office because if he did, he would pass out. His blood pressure couldn't regulate to his balance. Something was off. It was imbalanced. Skin temperature, felt cold all the time. His balance was poor. He'd close his eyes and he'd fall over because he didn't know where he was. Another person, Rick, 26-year-old, he couldn't even close his eyes and walk in a straight line. He'd fall over. Taking showers, he had to have his eyes open all the time. Guy was grumpy all the time. He self-admits that. Anxious. Didn't know what to control stuff. Felt like there was just something out to get him all the time because his nervous system wasn't balanced. He was stuck in that fight or flight defense, like thinking something was going to get him all the time. Recently, another young lady in here had digestive issues. Skin rashes started actually showing up with her. Her mood was changed. Some depression types of issues that were happening as well. Digestion pains in the stomach. Those types of things will start to have. So you can understand why these people, Levi was going to Cleveland Clinic. Rick was going to different doctors. This other lady was going to different doctors as well because it was really hard to pinpoint the cause of the problem. So medicine's going to compartmentalize this problem, meaning that, hey, it must, if it's showing up in the stomach, it must be a stomach problem. If it's showing up in the lungs, it must be a lung problem. If it's showing up with heart rate, passing out, it must be a heart problem. Or if it's showing up with moods, it must be a depression or a brain problem. So we give those types of medications for that. But as a chiropractor, I am going to look so much deeper than that. See, I don't use those symptoms to diagnose a problem. I use those symptoms, those problems, to trace back in the nervous system what is going wrong. Maybe it's an individual nerve. Maybe it's part of the nervous system, like the sympathetic nervous system that's overwhelmed. Maybe the parasympathetic is not getting stimulated enough. That's not becoming more alive. The body has to wake up. Or, hey, maybe it's the respiratory system and it's part of these nerves that aren't controlling your respiratory system so well. So I do my due diligence and understand how the body works, but we do it through the nervous system and we find the common cause. And you know what's so miraculous about this? This is so fascinating to me. After 20 years of doing this, I still love to see this. Problems go away. The body starts to regulate and it starts to heal. It starts to rewire and it starts to reinforce those patterns. So not only does it solve the problem, but the problems don't come back and they become more resilient. With consistent care, the body starts to become more resilient to those stimulus before that were causing all these issues. So I hope this makes sense to you. I hope there's somebody out there, maybe not you, maybe somebody else, maybe your neighbor, maybe a cousin or a nephew, or maybe a spouse, a coworker that is having all these problems. Maybe it's time to look at a different way of looking at these problems. Maybe it's time to start looking and thinking outside the box rather than a medication. Let's look at a drugless solution and get to the bottom and understand the physiology of the body and understand how that truly works. Hey, I am Dr. Randy Wirtz, a pediatric, neurologically focused chiropractic care, but I do see parents too. So I don't want to discourage parents from coming in because oftentimes I have babies refer their parents in as well. I want to help you. I want to be that source of one, hope. Second, a solution in providing answers for you and your family. I want you to have a wonderful day. Take care. Get outside and play. Bye-bye.